the other voting members? Okay, so with that, then the first item would be an approval of the minutes from the February 9th meeting. So those were distributed via the packet. So does anyone have any changes or corrections they would like to propose to the minutes? Okay, hearing none, we would accept a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Okay, thank you, Tobin. Could we get a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you, Aaron. All right, so we have a motion and a second. So then to approve the minutes, we'd have to go through and take a roll call vote with each of those voting members. So.
This conference will now be recorded.
Yeah, that was awesome.
All right, so for the roll call vote, we'll go ahead and start with David Hiddle.
Yes.
Okay. Then we'll go ahead and go to Kent Schumacher.
Yes.
Okay. Aaron Lyons.
Yes.
Tobe Lesenby.
Yes.
And Marcia Blansett.
Yes.
Okay, with that should be all the voting members, so the minutes are approved. So then we will go ahead and move on to the next agenda item, which is traffic counts funding. So I believe we will have Aria presenting about that for us.
Okay, yeah. So, quick bit of history. Our calendar year 2020 counts, we focused on CAFOs, confined agricultural feeding operations. And as a part of the pandemic, we had to split up the counts that year into two kind of phases. We did 19 of them in the first part of the year during the fiscal 2019 fiscal year. And then after the fiscal year flipped over in the second half of that calendar year, we did the remaining 46 counts to try and avoid as much impact of COVID on our counts as we could. It didn't really work out all that well, but we tried. So the result of doing that is that we will be unable to get back that 46 amount of counts because we did not spend our funds during that fiscal year, the first half of the calendar year of 2020. So this year, this calendar year, we were only able to take 19 traffic counts. We will be back on the usual schedule of 65 counts per calendar year and per fiscal year in next calendar year, so in 2020. I hope that's not too confusing for everyone. So that's the funding for next year's counts. We'll be back on our normal schedule. Next item on the agenda, I think, is the result.
Actually, do we have any questions about that,
Sorry,
first of all?
yes,
Oh,
we
no,
should
no
ask
worries.
questions. Okay.
All right, sounds like you go ahead and move on then, Aria.
All right, now I'll move on. What's that? You're really quiet there. Okay, yeah, so the results of the 2021 calendar year counts, we took 19 of them. A fair number of these counts were actually entirely new locations. There were a number of areas that were on slightly larger roads or that haven't ever been counted or haven't been counted for a long time. And this seemed like a good opportunity to get those counted to kind of fill in the holes of where we don't have data in Carroll County. So you can see on the spreadsheet there the station numbers. So all of those numbers above 9,000 are those entirely new stations we created just for this year. All the smaller numbers, 2,272 and below, are existing stations that we've counted before. I hear a bunch of noises in the background. I hope those aren't questions. So the data we got back from the counts this year, things are, a little bit low, but they're kind of picking back up again. I will say that it seems like all the counts this year, I think especially the new counts, I feel like were pretty valuable data. Of the larger roads, we have, if we look at specifically, there was this one. Yeah, so map number 63, station 9998 on West 75 North, between North 900 West and North 950 West. We can see that this is a functional class 6 road, which means it's not a local road. And it's only getting 40 ADT, or 38 annual average daily traffic, which is pretty low for slightly higher functional classification for the road there. So data like this I think is interesting to look at. Maybe it'll have us reevaluate some of these functional classes, or maybe not, as the case may be. This is the only time we've counted, and there are still some COVID impacts on it, but I think it's indicative of traffic on that road, so, or at least on that segment. Go ahead.
I think that's extraneous noise, Aria.
Okay, I keep listening for, all right. If you're not talking, muting your mic maybe would be helpful, so I don't think you're asking a question and can't hear you. Thank you. Yeah, so the counts overall in this calendar year were mostly outside of the towns. I think that's all there really is to say about these. We'll be back next year on our normal 3-year rotation. So normally we take counts on a 3-year cycle, where every 3 years we'll count the same station, again, to kind of get a trend over time. So, and we did that this year as well. We just, every year we kind of make small adjustments to which stations are counted as we look at the data and see what's useful or when maybe no longer needs to be counted, because we know it's always going to have low volumes, or volumes are consistent across long periods of time, that sort of thing. So any questions on this year's traffic counts?
Aria, can you talk about how the count locations are selected?
The locations, yes. So primarily, we've had the same locations for our 3-year cycles for a very long time. We'll generally pick areas that, either we're interested in a specific data, like truck traffic, or, if it's in town, maybe turning movements, like how many people turn from one street to another street, that sort of thing. Or, volumes in terms of how that's going to impact road repair schedules, if those are going up or down, or, like for the CAFO study, whether we have a lot of truck traffic that might accelerate maintenance schedules. And so those basic stations, we run those every 3 years. Otherwise, we'll pick them like last year for a specific goal to learn about a particular data point, like for the CAFOs, for example. And I will mention that we disinclude a number of locations because INDOT does do their own counts along the highways. So we do not have to count those locations, which otherwise would look like very tempting targets, but we already have data for those from the state, so we don't have to count those ourselves. Does that answer your question there?
Yep, thank you.
All right.
I think we should also maybe mention that typically we will kind of come up with an initial proposal for the traffic count stations, but before it's approved at the February meeting of this committee, we will send it to the members so that they can have a chance to look over it. And in the past, Paul Coates has often had a suggestion about maybe 2 or 3 stations or so he might want to swap out for different reasons. So that's certainly perfectly valid. We don't need to necessarily just take our initial proposal. It's open to modification there at the start of the year. So Kent, you can expect that at the start of next year.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yep, for sure.
All right, I got a question.
Okay.
This is Cameron, Carroll County Area Plan. What is the deadline to get those proposals submitted to you guys? For the traffic counts?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say we have a hard and fast date necessarily. Usually we'll try and provide those to you, a number of weeks before the meeting, and then the February meeting, that is. Then we'll discuss the meeting, make any changes, send them back to you, and then hopefully a couple weeks after that, we'll want to have everything back in. So maybe we'll say like late January, February, March, kind of late March maybe would be our deadline on those. We do try and get the counts done during the fiscal year. So that's before July is when the fiscal year ends.
Okay, so if I have a couple extra that I'm looking on some projects, what's my deadline getting those to you to get on your guys' proposed list? I guess, let me rephrase the question. So I have a couple projects coming up and I've been asked to do some research on it. So do I need to get that to you ASAP or?
Yeah, I mean, for this calendar year, we don't have any more budget to run any more counts.
Right.
But for next calendar year, yeah, I mean, you can make those suggestions when we send out our proposed list before the February meeting or after the meeting as we're making revisions up until maybe the end of March or so.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Yeah. So usually we try and check in with everyone a couple of times to make sure that we have all the feedback and input that we can get. So, and we do have a kind of a hard cap of 65 total counts. So not that I don't want to dissuade you, but we can't change out 30 of the counts unless that's kind of going to be our goal for the year, is to focus on whatever that project is, which is fine. We can do that. So. All right. Any other questions? Okay, I think hearing that, I'll move on to crashes. I think that's the next agenda item. All right, so as part of the work that Area Plan does for Carroll County, we create a crash report for you every 3 years. And the final document, once we have that, or once I've got it all put together and reviewed, I'll send that along to you. But here for the meeting, I've attached, I think, some of the most pertinent information that is going to be in that report. So basically, we get this data from the police crash data. We analyze it and correct anything that needs to be corrected, which, if the GPSs are wrong or if the counts are placed in the wrong location in the report or on the lat long data, we correct that. We do read through all the officers' narratives. We go through every single crash report individually by hand to make sure that, the data we have is correct. And we add some of our own info to it as well that isn't kind of added by default in the reporting system the police use. So we're able to get a fair amount of functionality and value out of this data as a result of that process. So all this data we've looked through and have done some quality control on here to make it pretty. So that's why you'll see, for example, there's a couple of these that are outside of the county that maybe took place outside of the county anyway. So, so the crashes, the report, it's a 3-year report. So we do 3 years of crash data. On the first page here, we show you 2017, 2018, and 2019, which is the data that will be in this report. So you can see where most crashes happen. You may notice that many crashes happen in the the densely populated areas, so the towns on the major highways, simply because there's more traffic and therefore, the possibility of more total crashes. On the second page and the following pages here, we do some details of the different towns. So you can see where in the towns those crashes are happening. For example, in the Delphi area, you can see that in the school parking lot there's a fair number of crashes. Now, I will note that for crashes like that, we do differentiate between crashes that happen on private property and crashes that happen on the road. I'm showing you here all the crash data. So this includes private property crashes, but for the purposes of transportation, and roads that we can improve, we are able to pull that all out separately so that we can make appreciable changes to that aren't just, oh, I got rear-ended in a parking lot, pay more attention. Like, what can you do? So we have Delphi, Flora, Burlington again, I think I didn't change the title on that one, sorry. Camden should be. And this year I've also added the Monticello area. Just as a curiosity, the town of Monticello is not in Carroll County, but there is some somewhat higher density areas over there. So I figured it was worth having a unique map for that as well. So yeah, we look at, oh, and I think I said already, these are just a couple of maps. There will be more maps and data in the reports. These are just kind of the highlights here. So after the towns, we have some crashes by primary factor. So in the police data, there's, oh gosh, like 20 or 30 different reasons that a crash primarily occurred. So this map shows kind of the highest 5 reasons. You will see that ran off road right is the second highest reason for crashes occurring. Ran off road is somewhat of a catch-all for, why a crash happened. And as the reporting software changes with ARIES 6 in, Tim, a year, 2 years, do we know when we're going to get ARIES 6?
I do not know. I'm not sure if the state police have released an official date yet. I have not heard one. Yeah.
Okay. Well, in any case, as the reporting software changes over time and gets upgrades, some of these categories, I think, such as ran off road, may disappear and will get us some more specific data in future years. But otherwise, you can see animals in roadway are a very common primary reason for a crash. I cannot tell you how many deer I have read about in these crash reports, and occasionally non-deer, such as geese, flying into people's windshields, I guess, is a thing that happens. Scary. Anyway. And after the map, we have a table showing you every single primary factor and the frequency of each type of crash from that reason. So some of these you can see are very uncommon. Steering failure, tow hitch failure, wrong way on a one-way, very uncommon, which is good. So after that, we have some crashes by winter surface conditions. So this looks at 2 surface conditions, ice and snow or slush. It does not include wet roads during winter months. It's just winter pavement conditions. Afterwards, we have crashes by number of injuries. And I've broken this into 3 categories: 1 injury, 2 injuries, and 3 or more injuries. As you can see, the majority of crashes are single injury crashes rather than multiple people injured crashes. And after that, we have crashes by fatality. There were 9 total in the 3-year period that we were looking at this report. And then after this map, I have just a variety of tables of some various data, some of which was shown in the maps above. So for example, rural versus urban crashes, crashes based on weather condition, surface conditions, amount of sunlight. And this is not the limit, again, of all the data that's available in these crash reports, but this is kind of, I think, a lot of the most valuable data for us to look at as transportation planners. So I think that's the end of the tables and maps for this item. Did any of you have any questions, comments about these crash reports and crash maps?
So Aria, in the causes, the primary factors table, there's no indication of drunk driving or driving under the influence of alcohol or drugs. Is that data unavailable?
Yes. So driving under the influence data is complicated. So the actual just field is drunk driver crash, I think has been removed, and we don't have the authority to look at that data anymore.
Okay.
But it's also the case we do often see in the officers' narratives that performed a field sobriety test, or sent in a blood test, or got a blood test from the hospital. When we review the reports, sometimes the results of those tests don't come back, and the report never gets updated. So even if it was, we tested them for it, but the results of that test never make it back into the data for us to analyze correctly. So
Okay.
the data, even if we had it, is uneven and not all that reliable. So
Okay.
If I may comment in regard to the question, I do know that OWIs and operating under the influence of drugs is considered under the heading of contributing factors. And so if you think about it, these categories that are mentioned here, and the one that comes to mind the most, I'm kind of surprised it's low on the list, but is speed. Usually
Yes.
Speed is a factor in a lot of our crashes. And so if they were going too fast, then the contributing factor that is learned once deputies or officers arrive on scene is the OWI, or the influence of drugs at a scene.
Okay.
Yeah, very good information there. Yeah, it looks like speed, I think, is number 6. Yeah, number 6. So it just got edged out of the highest 5. Yeah, only 66 of them primary factors speed too fast, which, like you say, well, there's unsafe speed as well, which is 39 of them. So I could make a combined all speed related causes. That's a combined category, and that might get us a more useful number to compare. So that's something I could definitely change in the report there. Any other questions?
Do we have a sense long form? So this is data for 17 through 19. Does it show any trends versus earlier data?
Yes, we have all of the previous 3-year conglomerated data, and we also have the year-by-year data that I can pull out for tracking long-term trends.
Just kind of curious as to what the crash rate is, how it moves, maybe in proportion to population or something along those lines.
Certainly, yeah, there's a lot of comparisons we can make. Yeah, we have all that data back to, I can't remember offhand. I think it's 2012 or something. We have it conveniently available. I'd have to look again.
Okay.
All right, I guess no more questions here then, sounds like. All right.
Okay, so then our next item will be talking about the Title VI plan. So this is something that mostly is regarding our planning work in Tippecanoe County, but there is a component of it that's related to our work in Carroll County. So with this sort of plan, one thing we are required to do is to outline a procedure for people to complain about our work if they feel that it is adversely impacting them based on several different factors, race, gender, age, income level, those sorts of things. So we need to have a mechanism in place for those complaints to be heard. So we have had that figured out for Tippecanoe County for a while, and this was something we were working on with Carroll County with Paul Coates before he left. So now that we've transitioned to Kent as the Carroll County Highway Engineer, he will be the person that will be there to review any complaints that are received about our planning work that we do for you guys up in Carroll County. I will say, just as a matter of transparency, we have never had any complaints about our work up in Carroll County, although it is possible that with us trying to start up this effort to do a long-range transportation plan, that it is certainly possible that that could produce some complaints.
Tim, could you send me the Tippecanoe County's process for that?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Can you send me the Tippecanoe County's process for the Title VI complaints?
Oh, yes, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, basically, we have a board that reviews them. But yeah, I can just send you that part of the plan so that you can look it over.
Just in case someone comes in and complain.
Yeah, that's good to be prepared. So I will mention that, like I said, we haven't had any complaints about this, even in Tippecanoe County since I've been here. And as far as I know, we haven't ever had any. There might have been some a long, long time ago that I'm not aware of. But again, it is good to make sure that we have something in place because you never know. So we are anticipating this to be adopted at our June meetings, June or maybe July, depending on when we get a final vote on that. So yeah, we are looking to have that. So we wanted to make sure to bring that up here today so that you guys are aware that you are included in this plan, even though it's mostly Tippecanoe County plan. Are there any questions about that? Okay, I will take that as a no. So the next item is talking about federal funding and project tracking. So Kent, I know you and I had talked about this a little bit over the phone, but I wanted to make sure that we had a chance to bring it up here with some of our other stakeholders, including INDOT and the street departments and all. So Kent, do you want to maybe go ahead and mention what you were thinking about that and what your questions were regarding that topic?
Well, being new to Carroll County, I just wondered if there was a MPO representing us on obtaining federal funds, and you did answer those questions.
Okay, Marcia, would you like to comment regarding anything about this on INDOT's behalf?
Okay, so Carroll County is not officially in an MPO area to where the MPO would give them funds. Any funding that Carroll County wants, they would need to go through our INDOT's call for projects. It's called the NOFA. We usually have one once a year. The county would normally apply for either bridge funds or our Group 4 funds and for bridges and roads. And they would do that through the NOFA. We do send out mass emails. Gov delivery comes out when that call is going to be. Normally, it is towards the end of the year. Usually around November or so is usually when the call is. I've not heard if we're having one this year yet or not, but normally it is, like I said, around November is when the call is. And the county would then, if they want to do any federal aid projects, would then apply through that call. As far as the county goes, all bridges are eligible. Roads have to be functionally classified, major collector or higher, in order to be eligible for federal funds. And then trails, I don't know what the county's doing any trails, but trails are always eligible also. So I think that's it. And if you ever have any questions about a call or what you can apply for, anything like that, you can give me a call. We can talk through it. And we usually, like I said, we send out a Gov delivery notification when the call is going to be, and then there's always on our website, we always post information on there too. Does that help?
Okay, yes, I've gone through the notice information before, so I'm familiar with it.
Okay. If you have any other questions, you can always give me a call, shoot me an email, whatever.
Okay, will do.
Alrighty.
Great. Thank you for giving us some more detail on that, Marcy. We appreciate that. I did want to mention one other thing that would be associated with this would be that if you do receive federal funds for projects, then you're required to fill out some quarterly project tracking reports. And those would be reviewed at this meeting. If we as APC had any questions about those projects, we would ask them at that time. It's something we do for Tippecanoe County, and we have done in the past for Carroll County back when you guys were using some stellar community funds. So that is kind of the history of that, and we're certainly more than happy to help in any way we can if you guys find an opportunity where using the federal funds makes sense for you. Okay, so then the next thing I guess would be the NDOT 18-month flooding list. So I'm going to go ahead and put that on the screen here. All right, so most of these projects, we do have several updates. So the kind of the first section of this here, these first 5 projects all experienced a change in letting date. They got moved back from a December of 2021 letting date to a February of 2022 letting date. So those got slid back. It looks to me like that is a bundle of projects. They all have the same contract number there. So those all got pushed back, a lot of different bridge work. So it looks like to get some good lettings, NDOT moved those back. Marcia, did you have anything you wanted to add about those projects?
No, I don't know anything about them. And Jackie had a bridge that was hit down there somewhere that she had to go to today, so she's not on as far as I know. I can check with her and get you an answer as to why those were moved back, if that's what you would like.
Yeah, that would be great. I mean, we understand that these sorts of things do happen, certainly, but it is good just to get a little more information if we can. That would be very helpful. Thank you.
Right, I'll get something, then I will email it to you.
Awesome, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So then the next, several projects, they stayed on the same lettings, so nothing has changed since last time we met. And then we do have some new projects. We're starting to get some of the second half of 2022 projects on this list. So a bunch of new projects there. A lot of them are on State Road 25. We do have one on State Road 75. And again, a lot of bridge work. Basically all of this that's in the list here is all bridge work of some sort. So it's like that's well underway. We did have some bid letting results to report. So this first one is for, again, a bundle of projects, some bridge projects on US 421. This project was awarded to Ram Construction Services. It was under the engineer's estimate, and it's estimated to be completed July 2nd of this year. Additionally, there was one on State Road 218 that was it was awarded to the Ganlip Construction Company. And that one was a little bit over the engineer's estimate, but it is a, relatively speaking, low dollar amount. So that was still awardable in NDOT's judgment. And that is estimated to be completed on August 27th of this year. So we got some summer bridge work going on up there in Carroll County. Any questions about any of these projects? All right, well, hearing none, we will move on to the next item, which would be adjournment of the meeting. However, we do at this time pause and take some time for the stream to catch up to us so that we can double check to see if there is any public comment. So we'll wait about a minute or so and see if any comments from the public come in.
Yeah, and I guess if we have other business, David, is this your first Carroll County meeting, I think?
It is.
Oh, I would like to welcome our new director, David Hiddle at APC, to the Carroll County boards here.
Well, thank you, Aria.
You're welcome.
Welcome, David.
Thank you so much.
Carroll County Area Plan.
And
Thanks,
then
Cameron.
Kent, of course, is also replacing Paul Coates, as we mentioned. So this is also your first meeting, Kent, I believe.
It is.
Excellent. So welcome.
Thank you.
And having successfully filled the time, I see no comments on YouTube.
There are also no comments on Facebook either. Okay, so with that, we would take a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Okay,
I
can we
second.
get it? All right, so without objection, the meeting will be adjourned. Are there any objections? All right, hearing none, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you all very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.